And just like that, we are back with chapter 49 of the universe according to Mugsy. I am Mugsy the creator, and today is Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024, and we are right in the middle of it, both figuratively and literally in so many ways, shapes, or form. We are going to cover just three of them here: the current events, the culture, and the consciousness, in whatever order I feel like discussing them today. And we are coming at you live from perhaps my favorite studio we have tried out yet. It is the studio that I used for maybe 50% of the Breakheart Consciousness Diary Instagram series that came to you live all summer long. This is the very spot that I did so much of my thinking, and by thinking, what I mean is receiving information from nature in some capacity. It was transferred to me, and my growth and beginning to understand patterns and coherence on a much grander scale began to take shape. Literally right here. I can only imagine the amount of photographs that are going to be taken at this location over the coming years, decades, who knows how long, because this is a crazy spot. I can feel it. And you guys know that I am constantly thinking about energy, frequency, and vibration. And I think that's quite frankly why some days when I get up, I just can't stop wondering why everyone isn't trying to be more like me in some way, shape, or form. Now I know how arrogant that sounds, but look around, motherfucker. Read the energy in the room. Is this not perhaps one of the best podcast locations you've ever seen? I mean, come on. Come on, there's nothing I want some nights more than to come home from work and just let it rip and sit down behind the camera and have a microphone all set up so we can just shoot off some energy into the universe. But that's not exactly the way that things should work all the time. And as we are getting this broadcast off the ground, I think it really helps to come out in nature where everything works so perfectly, so coherently together, where each season is a microcosm of the stages of our own life and experience here in this world and on this earth. That is the start that I was looking for chapter 49. Checking in with you people, and I haven't spent a lot of time podcasting, and I thought that I would be so plugged in to the news this season of this election cycle, but perhaps I have finally broke the mold, and instead I am enjoying myself more than I ever even thought possible in the location I least expected it, which was back in the restaurant game in the middle of this crazy October season, in the middle of quite literally one of the most dysfunctional business categories, restaurants, and food service in general, in another one of the most dysfunctional categories, seasonal work, in this Halloween season that nobody else really does anything like what we do in Salem, Massachusetts. And that is so fucking unique. And it brings so many characters that you just wouldn't expect to see in regular everyday life every day for a significant amount of time. And so I've just been having so much fun. I've decided that I'm only going to check in when I find that it is absolutely necessary for us to discuss some things. And Tim Dillon kind of discussed this a little bit this past Saturday on his broadcast, The Tim Dillon Show, where we are talking about this election season is really weird because it is unlike one that anyone that's alive today lived through, in the sense that we had a coup, like not just we're going to beat around the bush and there's some powerful people exerting pressure. No, it was like a full coup. Like it was, you are the president, but you're no longer allowed to run for president because you're not all mentally there. But at the same time, we're just going to let you pretend to be president until we can figure out a way for the machine to maintain power. And that's really what it has been revealed to be, is, as Tim Dillon put it, if you look at the context as two mafia families, the Democrats and the Republicans, fighting over power, the whole thing makes a hell of a lot more sense. Now, obviously, that is the case. It took me back into the 90s and Trump's the former New York City mayor, lawyer that cleaned up the streets, whatever his name is. Oh my God, I can't believe I can't remember it. Rudy Giuliani. He cleaned up the streets from what we would call the mafia. But really, what has been revealed is one level of the mafia graduated into a political and military industrial complex control amalgamation that the human mind in the United States of America couldn't even open up enough to perceive as it was happening in real time. It's just so obvious to people that are reading the energy of the room, which I'm going to come back to, because as Elon Musk has seemingly teamed up with Donald Trump, who we completely glossed over the fact that there has been a third attempt on his life, which is crazy to say. During a political election cycle, there have been 3 attempts on a former president, current candidate for president's life, that the entire legacy media has glossed over. And I don't seem to see people in everyday life talking about it with the fervor that one may assume we would be talking about it with if this were happening on some foreign soil. If this were happening anywhere, if it were happening not only in one of our adversaries, but one of our allies' political cycles, we would be making fun of it on our own late night satire television if we still maintain some semblance of late night satirical television, when really, again, it's been revealed to be some sort of propaganda. So, where my buddy Tim Dillon kind of left us off here was he really didn't get into the fact here now that there has been a team that has emerged. And this team that has emerged is Donald Trump and Elon Musk protecting this piece of technology, which is by no means perfect. This X platform, formerly known as Twitter, that has seemingly allowed, and probably in combination with TikTok and whatever foreign influence or large money donor is exerting influence on that platform, that has allowed people to see the truth of what is going on laid out before them in a way that they previously hadn't acknowledged. Probably because you have to go so far out of your way to avoid what's happening now. Because the way that I've described it is the United States has always been the Wizard of Oz, right? So it's always been a few people behind this screen pulling the strings. Now, at some point, those people know that they need to stop pulling the strings and run for cover, because eventually the mob's going to come for them, because they're going to find out that it's all some sort of charade. And when that happens, it's like those people ran, and then the curtain fell, and nothing changed for some people, because you really have to go so far out of your way to live in that bubble at this stage of the game. And what I mean by that is you need to actively be taking drugs that prevent you from seeing things, or you need to have so much money that you can buy everyone around you, so that no one is popping the bubble of your reality. And everything in the third dimension is also a reflection. So everything I'm feeding out could be coming right back to me. But what I'm trying to do is just articulate this description to you guys for my audience. Because we've talked about the timeline so much, and I want to try and discuss this in a way so that if you haven't been here for the last 48 episodes, you can still kind of 48 chapters, because this is an ongoing, podcast. And the best way to kind of talk about this in a quantum mechanical sense while explaining it for the layman is no one knows what the masses are going to think. Now, we used to have some reasonable idea that there was a small percentage of the population that was going to pull a large-scale operation and trick the rest of the population, right? That's just something we kind of accepted. And the small group that saw it for what it was couldn't do anything about it, for lack of a better term. Now, enough people have awoken that if one side, I don't know which side, the Republicans or the Democrats, tried to steal the election this time around, I don't know that the public is going to accept that reality. And I think that we need to start living in that present time now, because I don't know what comes next. And as someone who started this podcast 10 months ago because they were so confident in their ability to predict the future, that is why I am tuning back in now, because all of us individually have such a huge role to play in the coming weeks and the coming months, because this is not going to all be played out clean and neat and buttoned up with a neat bow. This is going to be a long, drawn-out battle between two mafia families that have already tried to resort to the ultimate of attempting to assassinate a former president of the United States, allegedly, and performing a coup d'etat. Right? No exaggeration. Full-fledged coup on a sitting American president. Oh my God. It's just, yeah, that's why we're checking in, guys. It's heavy stuff. And if you are not on Twitter and going somewhere specific for your information to get informed or receive some information from someone you trust to give you a narrative that you can maneuver yourself in the best way possible for you and your family, then I don't know what you're doing, because all you're doing is accepting the worst of our troubled masses. It's all going to start coming into focus in the next 2 weeks, and as I see things start to come up, I will start broadcasting more regularly. We will start talking about more of that as I see more, but for now, all you have to worry about is thinking about this is a mafia battle and learning to live in that reality. But you can't have your whole reality be that existence, because it's not fun, all right? And we need to focus on having more fun. Now, I had so much fun yesterday running around Salem in the Village Tavern restaurant, just saying yes to people, because that is quite literally my job. Someone comes in and they say, "Can I get some steak tips?" And I go, yeah, sure, I'll go get that. And the next person comes in and they go, "I think I'd like a Coke." And I go, yeah, I'll go get it. I'd like some more ice. Yep. Can I have another fork? Yep. Barbecue sauce? Yeah. And we're running around that restaurant all day. But yesterday Yesterday started a little bit different. Now, I always talk about these psychos in the restaurant, and I am including myself very much in that. And it's important that I state this disclaimer because I do not know everything that went on. I am only going to tell my side of any story, and I'm probably going to fabricate some things because I am a good storyteller and the rest of the world isn't going to know. So don't you come to this spot, please, looking to bash my head in anybody that may be involved allegedly. But when the popos show up at your restaurant at, I don't know, 11 a.m. on a Monday, which is opening, you know that you're in for an interesting day. And I couldn't believe that was the way such a relaxing, enjoyable day at work started, because there has seemingly been some miscommunication that I will call potentially sexual in nature, where someone may have been the victim of a crime, we don't know, or they may have been emotionally sensitive at a time where they took something in a way that it wasn't intended. I don't know the true answer to either of those things. If I had to guess, it's probably somewhere in the middle. And sometimes things could be handled in one way, and they're not. And it's not fair, and it's not right, and it's not just. And then we need to choose how we respond to that action. And then people that are close to us need to also decide how they are going to respond. So to suffice it to say, we had some external family members not like the way that something was handled in a professional manner inside of a restaurant, which is the least professional of environment of any of the work environments I've ever worked in. They make movies about how unprofessional the restaurant industry is. It's a common joke. Almost half, if not more than half of the country has at some point found themselves inside the industry. So at this stage of the game, I feel like I'm not letting any cats out of the bag here. So for anyone to take anything personally or to heart, unless it was a serious crime, I don't know. But people, this happens somewhat regularly in the restaurant industry with ex-lovers, right? Unrequited love, people that are confused and possessive and jealous and haven't found a way to deal with that for themselves, come into a significant other's place of work and cause some scene. This was like that, but sometimes the police come, and whenever the police come, it's escalated to another level you hope that I never got to, because now things get documented and people get involved and we start looking at cameras, and it's so much easier to resolve issues with the people that the issues are among. I feel whenever you include outside people, it just always complicates things. And I'm not saying sometimes the best course of action may be a division of both parties in whatever way makes sense. But anyways, so this gorgeous, beautiful day, probably some of the last that we're gonna get for the fall in October in Salem, starts off with his hectic craziness, and then we run clean and smooth as we have operated all season long, from a bus, from a host, from a food running, from a bar, from a management aspect, from a kitchen aspect. I mean, we were out of a ton of shit. But that's the cost of doing business, because you cannot anticipate volume in seasonal, restaurant industry. It's crazy. It's crazy. We're making predictions on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis about how humans are going to feel. So, whenever you get into that, it's going to be tough. So I thought it was just so amazingly smooth. And then occasionally you get a chance to get to know some of the insane people that you work with, which is my favorite part as well, because we're all fucking nuts to be operating and feeding off the energy of an incoherent environment where things don't run smoothly unless everybody plays as a team, which is so hard to get everybody on the same page. You rarely get a chance to connect with someone and have a discussion about where they are going outside the restaurant industry, which is always where people in seasonal or the restaurant industry are. It's few people's place to be. While it is some, it's not everybody's, and you're going to find 90% of people are just looking for something else. So from that perspective, it's just so refreshing to find another person or find people who are interested in growth. And that's the opposite end of the spectrum of the restaurant industry. Is most people are awake because they are not dulling themselves to fit into an insane society, as encapsulated by the way our morning started. Oh, what a wild... Okay, so I see why maybe some people don't wake up and want to be like me all the time in every moment, because there's some crazy shit in my life. And honestly, all I'm doing is getting shit for people. And I understand how that could get boring for some people. I find it to be a game. I just like it. It's like seeing how fast I can do shit and how efficiently I can run through a maze of people. And I also get paid at the end, which is just like this awesome bonus. Oh, and I get to hang out with all these people and fucking meet people and talk to these insane... You customers, let's get back to it. Read the energy in the room. I'm flabbergasted as a human being. I get that I understand the restaurant industry on a level most humans don't understand anything in their life. But can we not all just observe things that are going on around us, and on a human level, when you're sitting at a table at a restaurant and you haven't ordered anything for an hour and you see a line of people waiting to sit in that seat that you're sitting in, and you keep asking me for free things like water or refills on Dr. Pepper, that is a bridge too far. There's a time limit on these things. We are literally here in this one season to make as much money as we can to last as long as we can because our jobs are not renewable. And you fucking sitting here at a fucking 8-top with 3 of you fucks doing nothing but chugging Dr. Pepper as if it were Bud Lights, at least if it's PBR at $2 a glass. There's a chance you're gonna leave me a fucking quarter on that $4 bill. And maybe I'm gonna use that quarter to feed and clothe myself. But in the meantime, while you're sitting there ordering Cokes and waters, well, my 11 o'clock in the morning till 1 in the afternoon, literally the entire time that I can sell lunch dishes to my clientele, you're sitting there and just taking up space. Which is a perfect way for me to say, if you hear nothing from me but this one thing, it is learn how to read energy, because some people, I don't mind, right? It's my job. That's what I get paid for. People literally watch me. They'll say, hey, can I have a cup of this? I will sprint. I'll be like, yes. And I will start running to go get that thing. So there's no way that you could say I'm not like putting an effort. I'm trying. You should very well be able to see that if you can do the most base level layer of literally reading energy of humans. Or, yes, just that. I feel like it's the most basic thing to ask for from you people that I am providing a service for, a service that I, as a veteran waiter in the restaurant industry, am very happy to tell you to go get fucked. Right? And I've done it plenty of times. I had a table a couple of weeks ago where it was kids, and it was the same thing. And they clearly had no idea what was going on. They didn't know they were being impolite. They barely spoke English. They didn't understand the restaurant industry. And hey, it's no problem. I explained it to you. Hey, guys, here's how it works. You can sit here for as long as I feel like, and until then, I'm going to kick you out. I'm going to go get my manager to kick you out because he wants to make money way more than I want to make money. All right, I'm not that invested in this. All I did was put on a t-shirt and I put on a uniform, and that's what I did to come here to this restaurant. This guy purchased the building. He hired staff. He hired a cook. He ordered steak tips and chicken wings that he has to sell before they go bad. Otherwise, he's out money. So this guy really wants to make some fucking money. So believe me, if you think I'm being impolite, please know that as soon as I feel like I can get somebody real quick to come in here and pick you up by your fucking ankles until the police come and get you the fuck out of here. And you know what? My cameras weren't working that day and they didn't record anything because that's how this whole thing works, guys. I have just been explaining. I don't know how long for. It feels like forever. All right? I was trying so authentically for years and decades to figure out this universe and how it works. And somewhere along the way, I fucking did. And I don't know exactly how I did it. So I just need to explain it to you to make sure that you people are seeing things the same way that I am. Because I honestly, please know that I am not full of shit. If there is a reason that I should be accommodating this human being and making no money, less than minimum wage, far less than minimum wage, which minimum wage is not enough to provide you with basic needs, and I should be providing this service for free to this fucking guy who wants to drink Dr. Pepper. All right? And I mean, I could have commented on these people's weight. I could have commented on how rude they were to me just on a human-to-human level, but I didn't. All right, I didn't tell that part of the story. I didn't jazz all that shit up. I left it out. And the only thing we talked about was what you were asking me for and me feeling like you're not holding up your end of the bargain. Because if you put me a $100 bill in my pocket, that's completely different, right? Give me a $100 bill and I'll go get you Dr. Peppers all day long because you're paying me for a service. I'm a server. And you're taking advantage of me when you are no longer paying me. And most people think that, I don't know, that goes unnoticed. But I see everything, motherfucker. We all do. Especially us that just sit and watch people. But I try my hardest each day to wake up and come from a place of love and empathy. And I am grateful for the fact that each day I can brainwash myself again because I can already feel the asshole energy creeping back up. But we need to have love and empathy because no one can predict the future despite how much I love to tell people that I do. Because we are collectively only open to receiving information we're open to receiving. I describe each generation as kind of like a different flower that's about to bloom. Now, it can only bloom based on how much work it has done inside of itself, inside of that seed in a way. And if we think about the generation of baby boomers as a generation who, at a young age, accepted the fact that human beings went to the moon, we traveled there, and we were an interplanetary species. That was one level of awakening our perception. Now, coming back to Elon Musk again here, as SpaceX is demonstrating some incredible engineering feats, and we have a new generation that is being born accepting the idea that not only are we going to Mars, but it is in our imminent future, and we are going to be making contact with aliens, because this is all coupled with the fact that the White House, we know to be the least truthful people perhaps on Earth, as designed, by the way, by no fault of their own, and I'm not even saying maliciously. Government should never be telling the whole truth because that would leave them vulnerable. But they had to come clean on the fact that UFOs that have been flying around for who knows how long, as long as there have been species to document, and the White House has known about it, They've been, working on them. They don't know what it is. They believe it to be foreign in intelligence. And that happened close to 2 years ago, I believe, now at this stage of the game. And Elon's putting us on rockets to Mars. And now there's a certain percentage of the population, young population, that will grow up for their entire lives believing this inherently in their hearts and in their core. What those people are going to be able to achieve in their lifetimes because of what they believe with their own mind is going to be different than a group of people that was born X amount of years ago that saw us reach the moon for the first time, which in and of itself was a massive step for the people, the generation before, that had never seen aerial flight. So each one of these is a step, and things are starting to compound over time. Each one is unique to us in our own personal beliefs, in our own personal nature of the limitations for growth of humanity as a species. But collectively, each of our individual beliefs on what humanity is capable of does come together and form this culture that controls where we go together as a species and results in these current events that are happening now with more and more frequency if we're paying attention to where things may be going in the near future. That is a crazy high vibrational potential for humanity. And that exists right now in the same reality as this mafia warfare game that's going on between the Democrats and the Republicans in this next 2 weeks, where things are really going to start to get dirty. Both of those realities exist simultaneously in this moment right now, which encapsulates all possibilities of human potential in that little quantum space in between the atoms. Right before we observe something, in the moment that we're feeling right now, that's the consciousness. That's the connectedness to this moment, the here and now, that is continually expanding. As long as you are willing to participate in its expansion, it will expand through you, through your own understanding, your own ability to see and perceive, to accept realities that are invisible to you, but nonetheless 100% truthful, 100% real, 100% affecting you. When you begin to understand that the invisible is real, and perhaps you are interacting with it, and maybe perhaps you have control over it, that's when your own perceptions become your own limitations. And when you start to pull these things back, you find yourself doing things you never thought possible, in locations you couldn't imagine, talking to an audience you could never, ever imagined reaching a short time ago. And they will look at you as if you are something you never could imagine you were becoming. And only in their reflections will you see the truth in yourself and begin to know exactly who it is you are. That is the magic of this journey. That is the magic of connecting the dots. That is the magic of October and Salem and recreation and perception and the different lenses we choose to see light through. Because the other day, I had a realization that we are all here to create one thing or the other. And it is light or darkness. As my friend Matthias DeStefano was explaining to me that it is the darkness that creates matter, and it is the light that creates this feeling of love and empathy. And I only use those terms because I haven't found a way to articulate the concept that I am looking to relay to the rest of humanity. And I think that for the time being, we call that light. And that is information encoded in different ways, manifesting itself differently through different versions of time and space, so that it can further understand itself better. Ultimately, I spent time and energy with people that I thought challenged me. And some of those people I got to know very well. And because of that, I desired to provide and help the people that I spent time around grow. And I had this one friend who always talked about humans are here to build things. We build stuff, and we're always looking for better versions of stuff. And I thought that was reducing humanity to the least common denominator. And perhaps the thing that we were doing at our darkest moments. And I think what Matthias was able to help me see is when we are creating this matter and this stuff that's going to hang around, those are things that don't help us be lighter and freer. They are the opposite of creating light. And creating light is almost like moving without there being any perception of your movement or existence or trace of you coming through at all. It is like the most purest form of happiness and love and enlightenment. And to hear my fucking best friend refer to it in such a chimp-like way, an ape-like reduction is just, it disgusts me in a way. And this is my best friend, and I want to help him see things in a way that, using a different lens, that may help him grow a little more. And I think my friend, Matthias, really helped me do that. And I think as I begin to continue to look at the world through that paradigm of humanity's ultimate creation or highest achievement in this earth form as creating light, I think that's like such an amazing existence. And as I wear the lens of that over my mind, like a veil that I'm seeing the world to for a period of time, I'm curious where that's going to lead me. And I'm curious what it's going to feel like, because that's all this is. Our opinions and what we believe and what we feel, it's all just whatever we're feeling that day. And in the morning, we have the opportunity to brainwash ourselves and believe something different. So I'm going to try living in that headspace for a while and see how that vibration feels and see if it's any different than living in this vibration of believing that we are just here to create stuff. Because stuff is quite honestly the stuff that I'm looking to remove from my life many days. Just get rid of all this stuff that is getting in the way of coming out here to nature or connecting with another human, right? Or fixing some of the problems that we are seeing, the current events that we are seeing play out before us, which is a result of the culture that I see before me, that I participate in through my own consciousness. And if good things start to happen, then you can just as easily adopt that mentality. It's so simple. We choose our thoughts. So I am just trying out other people's thoughts every day. And when I come up with a good one that maybe a friend clued me into, then I just want to broadcast it out into the world as far as the eye can see, for as many people as I can help, so that in case I ever forget, some morning when some guy's sitting at my table ordering Dr. Pepper, hopefully he will be that reflection back to me, and I can remember I can only control my own thoughts. So stop paying attention to the Dr. Pepper and start being appreciative of the beautiful day that this man was sitting there enjoying, because I believe that is what enables me to be the best version of myself. And if you're not at least trying to do that, then I don't know why you tuned into this podcast and this broadcast and this chapter 49 of the universe according to Mugsy that is now in the books. So I'll be back to you as soon as I have to be back to you. But until then, take back your consciousness. I love you. I'm out.